I'm Dan Drake. This is Front Up on Visitor Network TV. With us today is DaveFronzuto, who's the Director of Emergency Management for the town of Nantucket. But before we get to talking to Dave, I'd like to just ask you to go to the iTunes store and get the app for Visitor Network TV, either by searching Nantucket or Visitor Network, and that way you'll be able to watch it all over the world. Dave, welcome.
Good morning,
Glad
sir.
to have you here.
Thank you.
We've got a couple of things to talk about, but you want to talk first about an app as well.
Well, we do. The town has adopted a contract with a company called Ping4, which has been brought to us by the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency, and it's an active app. It's a free app that you can download. We're planning on having it available at the airports, Barnstable and Nantucket, on the steamship, Highline, at their terminals, and hopefully on their boats, the bus terminal and train terminal in Barnstable, and it's a free app to download if you want emergency information about what's going on Nantucket. You can download it and you'll get the notice. We've tailor-made it for police, fire, the water company if they have an issue, the health department, emergency management, and I can put the notice on there. Once you enter into the geographic boundary that we set, you'll get the notice. You can also disable it if you don't want to get the notices. But it's a new thing that we're doing. We're hoping to have it in place for the 4th of July. So
and the purpose is to get word out about something.
The word out. We've
what kinds of things? Just give me a couple of examples.
Storm event, fire on the Pulpus Road. The police chief and fire chief can close the road. If you have a boil water order in Sconset because they had something go wrong, the water company can put out a notice. Storms, obviously. We had one the other day for the power. We actually activated it for the power outage that National Grid had. So that was the first one that we've done. So any public information notices like that for emergency, we'll be able to put that out for everybody.
And the app is called Ping4.
Ping4, and it's a way that I've been kind of frustrated in the sense that we've had a good way of getting the messages out to the local folks during the winter. This television station, the newspaper, and everybody's been very helpful, but we can't get to the 50,000 visitors, and this is a way that the visitors can get information almost immediately. Good. Well, it sounds like a good step forward.
Oh, it's nice. I think it'll be nice for everybody. The other thing we want to talk about are those big piles of rocks out next to the out on the entrance to the harbor, the jetties. Well, why are the jetties so important to us?
Well, they're so important for a lot of reasons. They were built in the 1800s and then refurbished several times, and the last work that was done to them was literally in 1963. The jetties are there to keep the channel from silting in. When they originally dredged the channel, they built one jetty, and they had some success, and then they built the second jetty. And to prove that point of their effectiveness, the last time that the federal government, the Corps of Engineers, came in to dredge the channel was 1985. So,
and when before that, do you remember?
It was about 20 years prior to that. So we've been very successful. I know you're following, a lot of people are following the problems that they're having in Hyannis with their channel silting in. They just dredged that a couple of years ago. And so the jetties keep the channel from having to be dredged and keep the channel open.
But excuse me, just parenthetically,
sure.
The jetties would not work in Hyannis, would they?
They wouldn't, not in that location.
That's right. Yeah.
In our location, they do work with the drift of the sand back east and west. They work for us. So very important. This was identified in the harbor plan. It's been identified in numerous different studies over time that the jetties were in bad condition and needed to have some work done to them.
Is that because the stones are sinking? Is it because they're being dispersed?
Stones are actually being dispersed during high storm events. They haven't settled. They've moved around, and you can see the big holes in them. So we brought this to the Corps' attention a couple years ago, and they did a bathymetry of the channel for me, and we found
what's a bathymetry?
That's just to check the depth of the channel, and that proved to be okay. The jetties were working. However, when they did that inspection, the engineers that came could not believe the deplorable condition that they were in. So we started to ratchet up a little bit of awareness with the Corps. We met with Senator Kerry's office, Mo Cowan's office, and Elizabeth Warren's office, Woodard and Kern, who's our consultant, and Kara Buzanowski, the DPW director, and I met with them and the Corps, and we said to them, we've got to do something. And fortunately, we were able to tie the appropriation, the $10 million appropriation for this work, to Hurricane Sandy recovery. So the money, the Corps has it in their budget. This year, this late summer, early fall, they're going to do radar imagery to find out just how bad it is, and to determine what volume of rocks they need to bring in under a contract to repair it.
Are they going to try to move back some of the rocks that are there? Or?
They are. I actually asked that. They're going to use some of that as the base. The jetties, the two jetties are constructed entirely differently. The West Jetty is constructed more formally with more square rock that has been placed there and built up. The East Jetty, the rocks were just piled there, and they've since tumbled down. So it'll have a more formal base to it, and then come up. And with sea level rise, which is a big issue now, with sea level rise, we brought this to them from a safety and navigation point of view, because we've had several boats drive on over the jetties. People's lives have been put in peril. We had the sailing vessel Mary was a French vessel that came in here. The man was severely injured. You can't see them at high tide. They don't show up on radar. If you're not familiar with coming in here, it's a dangerous situation. So based on safety and navigation, they were able to get this appropriation. We were able to get this appropriation, and we hope to do the construction. I had hoped to do it this winter, but right now it looks like we'll do it next winter.
What are we talking about in terms of money again?
It's we were able to. The Corps was able to. However you want to put it, we were able to get $10 million to do that. Their estimate to do the work was $10.3 million. And they were able to get the $10 million appropriated. So we're looking forward to that. And the byproduct of increasing the profile of the jetty is also improving the water quality. So you'll increase the velocity in the channel. You'll get better flushing in and out, and that'll improve water quality down the road. So that's a byproduct.
Which has an impact on a lot of things.
Most definitely. Yeah. Shellfish, eelgrass, swimming, water quality in our harbor, I think, is very important. But the Corps is in the business of providing safe navigation. We were able to make a case. They used the term, and then we used it in all of our documentation. And I have the packet here that we sent to the senators. We are a subsistence harbor. Our goods and services have to come down that channel. And the numbers are staggering: millions and millions of gallons of fuel, millions of gallons millions of tons of aggregate and building materials, and obviously food and passengers and groceries. So really, you have to rely on the harbor entrance channel being navigable safely, and we were able to get this.
What will this mean to the recreational boater?
The recreational boater, I don't think will see any change other than the fact that it'll be more visible. We're anticipating now that it'll be built about a foot higher, so it'll be showing at high tide. It probably won't be showing at excessive high tides during storm events, but we don't expect a lot of people to be out there during storm events. We also have talked about putting additional piles of rocks along the top, especially of the East Jetty, more of a pillar type of arrangement to, again, for the visual aspect, for people to see it both visually and on the radar. So,
what about the cut?
The cut is a great discussion. The Corps of Engineers has told me.
For those who don't know, the cut is an area in the East Jetty that many recreational small boat owners use to bypass going around the end of the jetties to head over into
that's right.
area north of Cotuh.
Right off in the court of the bay, and also to Great Point. Interestingly enough, the day I had the engineers here when we took them out, the cut has always been a discussion, and the Corps has always been very clear with me that they don't build jetties with holes in them. So when they were here and we did the inspection, I took them through the cut. They inspected it. They inspected the rocks on both sides. And then we went out and came back across Nantucket Bar at the Barbell, and it was making up. Mm-hmm. And it was a good eye-opener for them to see the practicality of the cut. How the cut got there, nobody knows. And I have a theory. My theory is, and I can share it.
It's one of those Nantucket stories. Please do.
It's a Nantucket story, but it's purely a theory. Is I believe that when the jetty was being constructed, some local folks went out there with a couple quarts of scallops or maybe a quart of scotch and said, "Hey, we need a cut here," and that's how the cut appeared. It doesn't show up on any plans, but it's from a practical point of view, from a user's point of view, from a recreational boater's safety point of view. It serves a great purpose, and we've made no bones about it that we believe that the cut should remain, and it will. So the cut is something the Corps talks about all the time because they don't know how it got there, and we don't really either. So
it's not something you do at night. Just one last question, Dave.
Sure.
That's fascinating. We'd like to keep in touch with you about the jetties,
most definitely.
But the rest of the harbor for this summer, so we had some big storms this winter. There was some there was some damage to the town dock and so forth. I know that's really not under your bailiwick, but do you think we're going to be ready, 100% ready this summer?
Right. They've let a couple contracts out, and the repairs have been done. We've applied for FEMA reimbursement for a lot of the work. At Sheep Pond Road relocation is one of the contracts that we're working on. Easy Street, the bulkhead, and that roadway is one of them. The town pier, obviously. I have FEMA coming in next week to start talking about reimbursement for the February storm for Nemo. So right now, it's basically two phases. One is a repair recovery phase, which we're about to close out Hurricane Sandy for that, and then mitigation work for those. So we want to do some work at Easy Street so it doesn't continue to happen. Do some work at the town pier so that we don't continue to have damage, and then a repair and recovery phase from Nemo. So it's kind of a three-phase approach, but we're hoping to get, with the mitigation work, we're hoping to get somewhere around $400,000 to $500,000 for that work from the feds. So that's what we've been working on over the winter. Yeah, having the Hurricane Sandy and then the Nemo and then March storm, we obviously weren't able to recover from those quick enough, and we ended up having subsequent damage. So I think we're ready to go. I know that the Marine Department's got all of their aids to navigation out, and they've got slips rented at the town pier, so I think it'll be another busy summer.
DaveFronzuto, Director of Emergency Management for the town of Nantucket, thank you.
Thank you, sir.